Well, as the great Stringer Bell would say, put the word out there, we back up. The Phillies are back up after defeating the Dodgers in a pivotal, legitimately must-win or go home Game 3 at Dodger Stadium. Now, I can't celebrate this too hard because, let's take a look at what I said about the whole decision to start Aaron Nola before the game. Anytime you get a chance to start a pitcher with a 6 ERA in a win-or-go-home situation on the road, you got to do it. And I know that Aaron Nola's at home right now, and he's drawing up game plans on how exactly he's going to give up that big 3-run home run, followed by a 2-run home run. I know he is. And on the flip side, they're countering with Yamamoto, who's only probably going to finish top 5 in the Cy Young. So, love this for us. Yeah, listen, I was young, I was naive, I was an idiot. But, no, in all seriousness, when you look at the performance that Aaron Nola gave you tonight, it's exactly what you needed from him. And you look back to that first inning that could have gone disastrously wrong. I mean, this is a guy coming into this game where, looking at the season total, his first inning has been his worst inning by far. His ERA was like at 7-something. And Brandon Marsh gifts Mookie Betts a triple because he stupidly dives for a ball he had no business diving for. Aaron Nola follows it up by hitting Freddie Freeman on the foot, which in the moment I went, it's probably a pretty good thing, honestly, when you think about it, because Freddie Freeman kills the Phillies, and I just felt like that was a prime example of a spot where a double was right there for him. But that is a spot where Aaron Nola normally would give up a 3-run home run, and he doesn't. He gets out of it. He battles. His stuff looked good, and through 2 innings, he looked in control. He's pumping in a 95-mile-per-hour fastball because he clearly knew that he was probably only going to go through the order one time. It looked like good Aaron Nola, to the point where when Rob Thompson went to go pull him after 2 innings, I questioned the decision a little bit. I thought, well, I might want to leave him in for a 3rd inning just to see how he would do. He only faced 8 batters. And then, right on cue, it looked like a bad decision. Because Ranger Suarez comes in, 1 pitch to Tommy Edman in the seats, and then he shut them down because Ranger Suarez has ice water in his veins. He's got fucking ice water in his veins. That dude is game bred. He is the definition of an absolute savage. A baby soft, or a baby-faced killer. That's what Ranger Suarez gave them tonight. You look at the numbers, might not be that impressive. 5 innings pitched. He could have went 7. He could have easily went 7 because Rob Thompson pulls him after 72 pitches and elects to go to the bullpen, but he was in complete control tonight. It makes you wonder, honestly, why he didn't just start the game or maybe start game 1, because it dispels any notion whatsoever that Ranger Suarez was injured. A lot of people were questioning whether Ranger Suarez was fully healthy going into this game. I think he showed that he was healthy and then some. This has been the best postseason game that Ranger Suarez has pitched in a long time, because when you look back to his previous 2, you're looking back at last year's game against the Mets where he battled. He didn't have his good stuff. You look at the game against the Diamondbacks, the NLCS, gutty performance to give them 5 innings, but he clearly did not have his good stuff. Tonight, Ranger Suarez had his good stuff, and he looked very, very good doing it. He puts them in position where if it were to get to a Game 5, he probably would be available because normally pitchers end up throwing on their 3rd day for a bullpen session, and that's a guy that you would probably look to because of the fact of, as I said, he's just game bred. He gives them what they want. But we also have to talk about the Phillies' approach this game. Finally, they had one. It was one of my big complaints after 2 games of the series where their approach was, boys, take a Monster Energy drink and grip it and rip it. And it seemed like against Blake Snell, every batter started at a 1-2 count. And they're facing Yamamoto, who is going to finish top 5 in the Cy Young. He looks dominant. He looked dominant against the Reds to clinch the wild card round for the Dodgers to send them to the NLDS. This is one of the best pitchers in baseball, but the Phillies actually had an approach. They went at him. They made actually hit thumbs down for that because I'm just free flowing and I'm speaking out of my ass. No, they made him come to them. So hit thumbs down for that. The first 2 batters, it didn't look promising. Trea Turner, Kyle Schwarber, there's 2 outs and 4 pitches. And I went, oh, God, here we go. We got good Yamamoto. It's the same approach. They're just going to be free swinging. They're not going to make them work. And then Bryce Harper works a really, really, really good at bat to work a walk. Or when Alec Boehm ends up getting up and creating an out, I went, look, Yamamoto is out of there in 13 pitches. I'll gladly take that. Because of how the first 2 batters approach, i.e. Trea Turner, Kyle Schwarber, about how those at-bats went with the 4 pitches, I'll gladly take 13. And then they just proceeded to put together good at bat against good at bat against good at bat. You finally end up getting to Yamamoto a little bit there. The aggressiveness of Bryce Harper, he giveth, he taketh away. He giveth in the sense of he ends up stretching that from first to third. The ball ends up getting away from Max Muncy into the camera well. It ends up advancing the runners, and you end up getting Brandon Marsh to end up hitting in. Alec Boehm to make it 3-1 or 3-0 at that point. Or was it 3-1? It was 3-1 at that point. But it gives the Phillies a lead. It gives the Phillies juice. And Kyle Schwarber finally breaks out in this game. We've been waiting for it. He was 0 for 21 coming into this game. In his last 21 at-bats, 0 for 21. It was something that I talked about. Bryce Harper's approach, horrible. Trea Turner's approach, horrible. You needed clutch at-bats from these guys, and the Phillies finally got it. They finally got good at-bats from the top of their order, which they needed because the bottom of their order didn't really do much in this game. Now, they had good approaches and they put together good at-bats, but you got this victory because the top guys ended up finally coming through when they needed it most, on top of really good pitching performance from Ranger Suarez, and I can't say enough, Aaron Nola. If I'm going to shit on him, I got to give him credit when he comes up big. And in a must-win game that I had dubbed the white flag game because of the fact you were pitching Aaron Nola, he comes up big. It was a really, really overall great game. If I had to make any complaints whatsoever, and these are minuscule, I mean, it's, I'm reaching here, but in the moment I was complaining about it, so I do want to bring it up. Harrison Bader can't come back fast enough because Brandon Marsh, I don't know if I've ever seen a fielder be Gold Glove in a corner spot, i.e. left field, and look completely lost in center. Brandon Marsh is a brutal center fielder. He's really only playing center field because of the Harrison Bader injury, but because of the fact that the other two corner outfielders, Max Kepler and Nick Castellanos, they're just not as fast as him. They can't cover enough ground. But this is the second, and this is the problem, it's the second playoff game, huge playoff game that I can think of, where Brandon Marsh in center has made a horrible decision to dive for a ball he didn't need to dive for. He wasn't going to catch it. And the first one being in the World Series against the Astros, I think it was Game 5 was the home game, and ended up costing them the run. They ended up losing the game. Dumb decision. And tonight. So Harrison Bader was held out. He's got the groin strain and all that. You hope maybe he can come back tomorrow, but I probably doubt it. But, dude, time and place to dive for a ball, man, and that is not it. But Aaron Nola came up clutch. He shut him down. The second one would be to the decision to pull Ranger Suarez. I didn't like that decision by Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson tells in the interview that Ranger Suarez can go 90 pitches, 95 if he needs to, 100 pitches, he's good. And with the way that Ranger Suarez was dealing in this game and controlling and had complete control over the Dodgers lineup, at that point of the game, as the Phillies are teeing off on 195-year-old Clayton Kershaw, I would have sent Ranger Suarez out there. I do wonder, do you save Ranger Suarez and only have him pitch 72 pitches because of the fact you're thinking about long-term a Game 5? But he ends up going to the bullpen, and that comes to my second complaint, which is that you didn't go to a guy that you necessarily aren't going to need, i.e. a Taijuan Walker. And by the way, hit thumbs down because that's the 17th IE I've mentioned, but you don't go to a Taijuan Walker. You go to a Ryan Kerkering, who you might actually need in a Game 4. And with Game 4 being the next day, I didn't really like that. I would have thrown a Taijuan Walker out there. I would have thrown a Tim Meza out there. I would have thrown a guy that you're not necessarily thinking you're going to use the next night. Ryan Kerkering is a key piece of their bullpen. I didn't want to see him out there. He ends up going to Taijuan Walker in an 8-2 game at that point, and he ends up pulling him. And I didn't like that decision either. I wouldn't have pulled him until it's a one swing of a bat situation, but I guess if you're Rob Thompson, you're going, I'm taking absolutely no chances. This lineup for the Dodgers is stacked. Okay, we'll just get out of here with a win, and we'll see you tomorrow. But overall, this is the performance that we've been waiting for from the Phillies. We finally got it tonight. They stave off elimination. They push it to another day. And, Rich Hoffman, because I was doing the game for PHLY, you can check them out at allphly.com. I did pre and post. And Rich Hoffman from the show had said, hey, don't let him get one, right? Because you got Sanchez going in Game 4. He looked lights out. And then you never know in a Game 5 situation. I'll add to that the fact that Dave Roberts, and I haven't thought that either team's managers have been shining in this series. I've been very critical of Rob Thompson, in fact, to the point where after Game 2, I said I'm done with him. He's not really a big game manager, and we'll see if I walk those comments back. We'll see what happens on after Thursday night's game. Because, again, I didn't really think that his some of his decision making in this particular game was great, but I think Dave Roberts has matched Rob Thompson's poor decision making. I think the decision to keep 195-year-old Clayton Kershaw in there might end up backfiring. And the way that I'm going with this thought process is, you desperately needed Kyle Schwarber, Trea Turner, Bryce Harper to get hot. They do in this game. They came up huge in this game. But Kyle Schwarber ends up getting that solo shot off of Yamamoto. He ends up literally hitting it out of the ballpark. It was incredible. Bryce Harper ends up getting a hit. Trea Turner ends up doing Trea Turner things, getting on base and stealing and scoring runs. It's great. But the Phillies are now leaving this game saying that wasn't just a one-off because they did it against Kershaw later in the game. They go from one for 4 to 2 for 4, 2 for 3, whatever it is. Because you left Clayton Kershaw in there to give up the home run to Kyle Schwarber, where now he goes from being 0 for 21 coming into the game to now he's got 2 home runs. He's probably coming out of this game feeling pretty damn good about himself. Bryce Harper, same thing. Trea Turner, same thing. I think that, and I can just tell you from my personal experience, and some people might roll their eyes at this comparison, but I play shitty, bad beer league hockey, but when I'm going through a slump, I can't wait until we play the bad team, the team that really shouldn't be in the league, because I'm like, okay, just for my confidence level, I can get a couple easy points here, and I know it's a bad team, but just for my own sanity to get out of the slump, I need it, and I think that's what the Phillies had tonight. The hits against Yamamoto are great, but then you add on to it later on against an obviously cooked Clayton Kershaw, and now they're going to be coming in Thursday, and they're finally got that monkey off their back. The fact that they were 1-7 in their last, 8 playoff games or whatever it was coming into this matchup, they finally get that monkey off their back, and I think that's so key. I don't know whether they win on Thursday. I mean, the Dodgers are very, very good. It's still on the road. I like the fact that the Dodgers are going to counter with Tyler Glasnow, a guy that is prone to kind of walk some guys, and he doesn't give up a lot of hits, but he does end up getting a little free pass happy. If the Phillies have the same approach on Thursday night as they did on Wednesday night, I do like the Phillies' chances. We'll see what happens in Game 5. You figure that the Dodgers would probably counter with an Ohtani, Blake Snell piggyback situation, but again, you never know. Dare to dream. So I'm not going to make an overall prediction, but I will say, I think it'll be pretty evident early on. If the Phillies are taking pitches, if they're making Tyler Glasnow beat them, if they're not chasing like they were in games 1 and 2, then yeah, I mean, you'll be able to finally do something that you failed to do in games 1 and 2, and that's dip into their bullpen. The Phillies finally were able to dip into the Dodgers bullpen in Game 3. They faced 3 legitimate relievers. They didn't face starters turn relievers. No, they faced 3 legitimate relievers in this game. Clayton Kershaw at that point, the game, Dave Roberts is playing for Thursday. He just doesn't want to use anybody else. Don't blame him for that. But overall, if you're a Phillies fan, like, this is what we've been waiting for. You finally see it. It's unfortunate that they're still facing elimination, but you live to play another day. So now's the part where I'm going to ask you guys to subscribe, because I'm just mumbling at this point. It's 2 a.m. Subscribe, please. Subscribers are important. Everyone's doing it. All right. Peer pressure. It works. Subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know your predictions for Game 4. If you think the Phillies are going to end up pushing this back to CBP, or if you think, okay, it was cute, but they're still going to end up losing. Let me know in the comment section. And overall, go Phillies.